Hello everyone, this video is about the main mode of issuing invoices via the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, namely the online mode. Polish Ministry of Finance has published 4 manuals regarding the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, and what I am about to show you is what follows from those manuals. So this will be Polish Ministry of Finance point of view, at least as of today, which is in March 2026, on how the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System should function and how the invoices in the online mode should be issued according to the expectations of the Polish Ministry of Finance. So if this is something for you, then let's get to it. Before we start, I think it is worth mentioning that under the regime of the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, in total we have 5 different modes of issuing invoices. We have the online mode, we have the offline 24 mode, offline unavailability mode, emergency mode, and total failure mode. These are the 5 modes introduced by the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, within which the invoices will be issued. And in this video, we are dealing only with the first one, the online mode. First of all, when it comes to eventual conditions to the question when can the online mode be used, from Polish Ministry of Finance's point of view, there are no statutory limitations on the use of the online mode, so the online mode is the default mode. So if you've analyzed and established that you are obliged to issue invoices via the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, because none of the exemptions from using it are applicable in your case, then the fundamental default mode of issuing invoices via the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System is the online mode. Of course, there may be cases where the online mode will be unavailable. The online mode may be unavailable due to 3 reasons. Reason number 1, the Polish Ministry of Finance performs service and maintenance tasks in the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System. Then, if you are willing to issue an invoice, you have to switch to offline mode. Of course, the plans of the Polish Ministry of Finance to conduct such maintenance and service work will be announced by the Polish Ministry of Finance in the Bulletin of Public Information, and according to Polish Ministry of Finance's explanations, manuals, also in the interface software itself. So my understanding is you will be, while logged into your account in the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, you will be able to see that the service and maintenance works are being performed. The online mode is not available, and the offline mode is the go-to mode to issue an invoice. Then case number 2, where the online mode is not available, is the case where the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System is not working due to some failure, and at the given moment the works are being conducted in order to identify this failure and get rid of it. This situation will be also announced by the Polish Ministry of Finance in the Bulletin of Public Information and in the interface software itself. So, if such information is indeed announced by the Polish Ministry of Finance, the go-to mode to issue an invoice is the KSeF failure mode. And the third situation in which the online mode will not be available is the total failure mode, which is foreseen for situations which are critical, which present a threat to the whole country or to the country's infrastructure. As a result, when you see that the online mode is not working, that the system is not available, and the unavailability of the system and of the online mode is announced via public media by the Polish Ministry of Finance, the go-to mode to issue an invoice is the total failure mode. And it is also important to notice that a part of the offline mode, so this is the mode which is applicable for issuance of invoices when the service and maintenance tasks are performed by the Polish Ministry of Finance in the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System. A part of that mode, we also have the offline 24 mode, which is something different than the offline mode. And the offline 24 mode is a mode which is available during the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System is available, and the online mode is also available. Consequently, when the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System is working, you can issue invoices using the online mode, which is from Polish Ministry of Finance's point of view the main method, but you are also allowed to issue invoices using the offline 24 mode. In terms of the next question, namely how the invoice should be issued, what is the method of issuing this invoice, it should be noted that within the online mode, the invoice is issued to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System as a standardized XML-based file, and of course the exact format and exact information that should be indicated in this file are defined by the Polish Ministry of Finance. Currently, the valid structure of this file is the so-called FA3 structure. Furthermore, the invoice is transmitted to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System on the same day as indicated in field P1 of this FA-based file. As far as the information that have to be indicated on the invoice are concerned, the introduction of the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System introduced one additional field, one additional information, namely the number assigned by the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System. Consequently, all of the other information that are indicated, that have to be indicated on the invoice, are staying the same as earlier, before the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System was introduced, but there is on top one additional information added, namely the unique number of the invoice assigned by the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System once the invoice is sent to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, processed by it, and receives automatically a generated unique number. One of the fields that have to be given a special care is the P1 field. This field is the invoice issue date. This field is being filled by the person who is issuing the invoice. And in online mode, the date of issuance indicated in the P1 field matches always the date of sending the invoice to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System. It has to be equal to this day at which it was sent to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System. If the date of sending the invoice to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System is later than the date of issue indicated in the field P1, then the invoice will be automatically reclassified to an invoice which is issued in the offline 24 mode, which also should be nothing critical. This still will be accepted as a valid invoice. To give you an example regarding the issuance of the invoice in the online mode and indicating the date of issue in the P1 field, let us assume we have a date of issue which is indicated in the P1 field, which is equal to 30th of April 2026. Furthermore, we also assume that this invoice was sent to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System also on the 30th of April 2026. On the same day, the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System has generated a unique number to this invoice and assigned this number to this invoice automatically. Consequently, the invoice is deemed to be issued on the 30th of April 2026. In another example, we have an invoice in which the date of issue was indicated by the taxable person in the P1 field also as the 30th of April 2026. Again, the invoice was also sent to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System at the same day, at the 30th of April 2026. However, due to the fact that, for example, this invoice was sent to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System at, for example, 3 minutes before midnight of the 30th of April 2026, and therefore the unique number was assigned by the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System to this invoice first on the 1st of May 2026. Consequently, in such case, the date of issue after processing by the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System is still equal to the 30th of April 2026. And this is because the date of sending the invoice to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, the date at which this invoice was sent to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, is the same as the date of issue indicated in the P1 field. In another example, we have an invoice in which the date of issue indicated in the P1 field is 30th of April 2026. However, this invoice was sent to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System first on 1st of May 2026. Consequently, the day at which the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System assigned a unique number to this, generated and assigned a unique number to this invoice is 1st of May 2026. And in such case, if the date of sending the invoice to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System is later than the date of issue indicated in the P1 field, then automatically such invoice is reclassified to an invoice issued in the offline 24 mode. And consequently, in the offline 24 mode, this where the invoice was sent later on the date which is later than the date of issue indicated in P1 field, the final date of issue, the date of issue after the invoice was sent and processed by the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, still remains the 30th of April 2026. The Polish Ministry of Finance explains in the manual that also in case, for example, the invoice would be sent to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System first on, for example, 7th of May 2026, but the date of issue indicated on the P1 field still would be the 30th of April 2026, then such invoice would still be deemed as issued on the 30th of April 2026. However, from the Polish Ministry of Finance's point of view, in such case, the invoice would be sent too late to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System. Because it is also, of course, assumed that the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System is available, that the online mode is working, the offline 24 mode is also working, and therefore, from Polish Ministry of Finance's point of view, this invoice was sent too late to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, because within the offline 24 mode, you can send, which I will also explain in the later videos, you are allowed to send the invoice until the next working day after the date of issuance indicated in the P1 field at the latest. So if you send it first 7 days, for example, 7 days later, then this invoice still will be deemed as issued within the offline 24 mode, but the deadline for sending the invoice to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System was not met, which, according to the manual of the Polish Ministry of Finance, will not be penalized during the whole year 2026. Such cases may have, however, penal fiscal consequences starting with 1st of January 2027. So how does the flow of issuing the invoice look like? First of all, the taxpayer sets the P1 field, namely the date of issue, on the document, on the XML file of the invoice that he is issuing. In the second step, the invoice is sent to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, and within the online mode, the invoice is transmitted to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System on the same calendar day as the P1 date indicated by the taxable person on the invoice. In the third step, the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System generates and assigns the unique number of this invoice. And in the fourth step, the issue date is confirmed. The date of sending becomes the official issue date. As explained in the example, if the send date is later than the date of issue in the P1 field, the invoice is automatically treated as issued in the offline 24 mode, with the issue date being the P1 date set by the taxpayer. On the other hand, of course, if the send date is earlier than the date of issue indicated in the P1 field, then in such case, such invoice will not be even allowed to be processed by the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System and will be declined at the entrance to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System. When must the invoice be sent? As mentioned, in the online mode, the invoice has to be sent to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System on the same date as indicated in the P1 field by the taxable person. Nevertheless, of course, when we are talking about the deadlines of issuing a given invoice, then here nothing changes as a result of introduction of the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System. The usual deadlines apply. For example, the general deadline according to which an invoice has to be issued until the 15th day of the month following the month in which the supply took place. Of course, Polish VAT provisions foresee also special deadlines for defined kinds of goods and services that also within the confines of the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System have to be kept. How does the buyer receive an invoice issued via the online mode in the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System? Automatically. Buyer receives the invoice through the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System. The invoice becomes available in the buyer's account once the unique number was assigned by the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System to this invoice. However, of course, there are also special categories of buyers defined in the Polish VAT Act. Namely, if you are, for example, someone who's performing intra-community supplies of goods, or if you are performing exports of goods. Namely, you are carrying out a supply of goods where the goods are transported from a place located in Poland to a place located on the territory of a country which is not a member state of the European Union, or if you're performing exports of services where your customer is located in another member state of the European Union or in a country which does not belong to the European Union, then, of course, in such cases, your client will not have access to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, and in such cases, still you will be obliged to issue such invoice via the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System. But once the invoice was issued, namely the invoice was processed by the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, and a unique number was generated and assigned by the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System to this invoice, then you will be generating a visualization of this invoice in a, for example, PDF file, and you will be giving this PDF file to your foreign customer. And for such kinds of customers, the date of receipt is the actual date of receiving the invoice by the buyer, namely the date at which the buyer received the invoice as a PDF file attached to an email, for example, or a letter with a printed out invoice, and so on and so forth. There are also special requirements when it comes to the QR codes that should be indicated on a visualization of an invoice issued in the online mode. Such invoice has to contain a QR code for verification purposes. There is only one QR code indicated on an invoice issued via the online mode. After scanning this QR code with a QR code scanner, the information regarding this invoice will show up in your internet browser. Important as a comparison to notice that in contrary to the online mode, in case of using offline modes, which I also will describe more in detail in later videos, on the invoices, two QR codes will have to be indicated if these invoices, the visualizations of those invoices, are handed over to the buyer before they were sent to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System. After such invoices issued in one of the offline modes were sent to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System assigned a unique number to those invoices. Once a visualization in a PDF file is generated out of such invoices issued in the offline modes but already sent to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, then such invoices, similarly to an invoice issued in an online mode, will also only indicate one QR code, allowing for identification, confirmation and identification of the issued invoice. And of course, the QR code is only being attached, is only being indicated on a invoice which is provided to the buyer outside of the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, for example, as a printed or emailed PDF file. This QR code is not required if the buyer accesses the invoice directly in the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System. So also the XML file that is being prepared and sent by the taxable person to the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System does not contain such QR code. Okay, everyone, thank you very much for watching. I hope this general information, this overview was helpful for you. I wish you good luck while issuing the invoices in the Polish National Electronic Invoicing System, and see you next time. Bye.